folks. You're looking swell. For those of you who grew up on South Park, you're going to recognize that voice. Welcome to today's Tarot Tuesday. I sat down in my meditation today before I jumped on to do this collective reading to see where we're at. And I asked, what's the general theme of today's reading? Like, what are we going to kind of get into? And the thing that came through was our attachment to our emotions. So that's something that we want to look at as we think about today's reading. And when I pulled today's cards, we're doing the 4-card spread, the energy that's taking us here, what brought us here, the energy that's strong with us. And I like to describe that as like, what's the energetic wave that we can catch right now where we're really in the flow. The 3rd card is the unconscious influences, things that are just kind of percolating under the surface. This is often either opportunities for growth that we maybe are not looking at, or just influences that are underneath the surface, passing away, or subtly influencing the current moment. And then finally, the last card is where are we all headed? Where was this all headed this week? And it's really interesting, the cards that I pulled, because we're definitely seem to be closing out what would be the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially since I jumped back on and started doing the Tarot Tuesday. So in the beginning, we started talking a lot about what was coming up for folks is ego stuff. Our old patterns, our old beliefs were being challenged, and our wounds were being brought to the surface. And we're being asked to look at this like really, really clearly and make some new choices about how we're going to relate to those aspects of ourselves, integrating what we're learning, integrating these new choices. And I'm very much in today's reading seeing the tail end of that. So let's go ahead and dive into today's Tarot Tuesday. The first card I pulled, you will recognize from just a couple weeks ago. We pulled the Temperance card, Major Arcana card. This is the energy that brought us here today. So integration is a theme. The second time in 3 weeks where integration is important, where we're being able to take these opposite dimensions of ourselves, finding harmony and balance with the duality that is in us and in our lives, and learning to integrate the dark and the light, the unconscious and the conscious. When we look at this card, we see all the colors in the spectrum of light in the card. And when I see that, I always see integration, which is really, really cool. And this is a card of just finding that harmony, finding that balance. There's healing and renewal in integrating these, what were once fractured or fragmented parts of ourselves, and bringing them together into one whole piece. So this is like not denying the wounded aspects of ourselves, or the negative thoughts or beliefs or patterns that maybe we were carrying with us before we got into this cycle. It's about seeing them clearly and loving them, accepting them, loving on them, so that they just become a part of us and they no longer are the root of unconscious behavior or unconscious action or reaction, but we see and understand ourselves. And so when I see the Temperance card influencing this reading this week, when I think about it in relation to the lesson of looking at our attachment to our emotions as the theme that came in at the top of today's meditation, I'm really, really looking at us integrating these parts of ourselves. So when I say looking at our attachments in relation to this card, it's like we've gone through this cycle. The egos come up, the wounded aspects of ourselves have revealed themselves, old patterns, old beliefs, old behaviors, they've roared to the surface. We've had an opportunity to look at them really clearly in an objective way. And now we're just gonna see those clearly and continue to make a choice moving forward about how we're gonna respond when that comes up. So it's not that the wounded aspects of ourselves, or this dimension of ourselves, goes away. It's still gonna rear its head every now and then, but we're gonna see it clearly. We're gonna recognize it. And so when we talk about the Temperance card and bringing that into balance and harmony, it's no longer being ruled by those unconscious things. They become conscious, so that, again, that we can learn how to respond and move forward and make choices moving forward without being beholden to them. I'm going to jump past the 2nd card and into the 3rd card because the unconscious influences were the devil. So I'm not surprised that we're 3 or 4 weeks here in, that the end of this cycle, especially coming out of the Pisces new moon, that one of the unconscious influences that's at work this week is this old stuff that's come to the surface. We're learning to integrate, we're learning to harmonize, we're learning to balance, and it's still present. So this is just a reminder that those old parts of ourself are not gone, but we are transforming and sort of transmuting, as we see the fire of spirit in the Temperance card. We're transmuting those qualities and characteristics into something new, integrating into our personality, so we're no longer bound to them. The way that the devil talks about bondage, right? Being stuck, chained to this old way of being. Well, it's still an unconscious influence. It's present, but it doesn't have power over us anymore. We've reclaimed our power over that through this process of integration and seeing things clearly, seeing our attachments, seeing emotions clearly. So we're not married to them. They're just symbols, right? It's information that comes up. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm feeling anger. Oh, that's interesting. I'm feeling kind of sad about this. Wow, I'm feeling a little bit like abandoned by this dynamic. Stuff like that. And instead of diving into the emotion and the woe is me of it, you're like, that's really interesting. Well, why do I feel that way? Why is that coming up? What does that say about where I'm at? Where am I in my center? Am I loving myself? Am I giving myself what I need to be satisfied, fulfilled, connected just through my own actions and beingness? Those are the kind of questions that come up when we look at, our emotions as they arise. And again, instead of being bonded to them and bound to them, we learn to integrate them. We go, okay, that's coming up. That goes for good stuff too. Happiness, joy, pleasure, satisfaction. Ooh, wow, this feels really good. Well, why does that feel good? What part of myself is being stimulated by that? And can I welcome that in and let it go without being attached to it? That's another important thing. That goes for all emotions. The ability to call them as they arise, acknowledge them as they arise, not get married to them. Don't hold on too tight. Hanging on to anything is definitely, a recipe for suffering, especially if we follow any of the tenets of Buddhism. Can we allow it to rise? Can we enjoy it, be present with it, and then let it go and let it pass away as the moment moves on? Sorry, I jumped around here. The energy that is really strong and powerful with us, the collective this week, the Three of Cups, a very, very nice card to pull. I will say, aside from the two major arcana cards we pulled for the energy that brought us here and the unconscious influences, we pulled two Cups cards. So given that my meditation was we're looking at our emotions, we're looking at our attachment to our emotions, I'm not surprised that we pulled Cups cards in this reading, because this week's going to be about emotions. Emotions. And the Three of Cups talks about good vibes and the people that elicit, inspire, and stoke those good vibes in us. This is about camaraderie, companionship, about finding our soul tribe, so to speak. So the energy that is really strong with us this week is definitely lean into those relationships, those dynamics, those experiences that cultivate a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a sense of good vibrations, high vibrations, those ones that inspire us to step into the more conscious, enlightened aspect of ourselves. That energy is going to be really strong this week. So you got friends that invite you out for dinner. If you got a cool opportunity to go for a hike in nature with someone that you really vibe with someone that's on the same wavelength, go for it. Lean into that. This is going to be a good time to cultivate that energy because it's really strong with us this week. So lean into those connections, lean into that community aspect of our emotional well-being and emotional wellness, because that is a strong energy here. And threes are also creative. So don't be afraid to lean into creativity with those people, or to create things that reflect that sense of community, of finding your tribe, of that energy that kind of calls in the new way we want to show up in the world. This is a card that's going to really reflect an opportunity to do that this week. We talked about the unconscious influence of the devil popping up. Because we've been doing these for the last several weeks, I want to say this is just the influence that's passing away. So the devil popped up, I think, in the first Tarot Tuesday that I did after a long hiatus. And it was like, okay, folks, get ready for the ride. We're going on a buck and bronco ride with the ego. It's going to kick, it's going to scream, it's going to gnash its teeth and rear its ugly head around. But we have the capacity to see it clearly and to learn how to sort of harness some of our own control over that and transform it, transmute it, and make new choices about who we are going to be in relationship to that part of ourselves. So that's still present, but I feel like it's passing away, which is really cool. So stay the course, keep leaning into those good vibrations, finding your soul tribe, those people who stoke inspiration, who inspire you to cultivate the loving aspects of yourself, those people that inspire you to make the loving choice in relation to you and your spiritual growth and the spiritual growth of all involved. Lean into that connection because it's really strong this week. And finally, where do we end up? Ba-ba-da-da! Very happy card. We've got the Ten of Cups. As you can see, we've got all the colors in the rainbow kind of just shooting out of these cups. This is a card of vibrance, of high energy, of positive energy, optimism, hope, and just total fulfillment. And this is in an emotional sense. So what we're looking at this week is an opportunity as we integrate these aspects of ourselves, we're leaning into our tribe, we're allowing ourselves to be influenced and inspired by those people that we find in our community who are, again, cultivating the loving aspects of ourselves, who are inspiring us to pursue our higher ideals, to connect to higher wisdom, to connect to ourselves, to live our highest truth. As we lean into that energy and vibration, the strength of the devil card sort of lessens, it weakens its grip on us. We have the ability to integrate, to become more whole and harmonized and balanced in an internal sense. And on the end of that, and the other side of that, is a real sense of fulfillment, of satisfaction, of emotional, I'm gonna say emotional abundance, which is really, really awesome and really, really positive. So I know that a lot of folks, several weeks ago when I did the first Tarot Tuesday, everybody was like, oh my God, I am feeling it. I am moving through it. And it just felt like everybody was in a funk. And that's why I felt called to start doing the Tarot Tuesdays. It's like, okay, stuff is wonky. What's happening? There's a transformation taking place. There's a shift afoot. So let's tap in and see what's going on for the collective. And now 3-4 weeks later here, I'm feeling like we're at the tail end of that little earthquake that we were all feeling spiritually and emotionally. For a lot of us, I know it was an ego death. I know for me, it's been a massive ego death. And as I come out of the last month or so, I'm feeling so much more in my body, so much more at peace, so much less noise kind of in my mind, in my body. This restlessness is gone. And I've really just settled into beingness and being okay, being here. I'm being here doing nothing, or showing up for a shoot and just being there for that and doing that. Showing up and doing the editing job that I did last week and being present with that for the hours that I'm doing it. But then when it was done, sitting down on the couch, watch some stand-up comedy, do a long meditation, have a nice conversation with a friend. There's been a big shift for me about being in the present moment and just really embracing this state of being. And emotionally, where we're all headed, and I can feel this too, is we're really headed for an experience of just feeling a little bit more liberated, feeling into the growth, feeling into sort of the satisfaction of having gone on the journey and conquered this beast for now at this level that we've learned to work with it at. So really cool, really good vibes ahead. I'm gonna pull one more card to see if there's one last message that wants to come through in relation to what's the big lesson for us here. I always love to look at the major arcana cards and see, well, we got Ace of Cups, so we've got a new emotional beginning. It's like a clean slate. So if we've done this work, if we've really leaned into working with the wounded aspect of ourselves, looking at our devil, seeing it more clearly, seeing our attachment to its grip on us and how that influences our behavior and our patterns and our actions, if we're doing that work, and we're also leaning into the inspiration and the sense of community and support that we have around us, well, boom, we're moving into new emotional beginnings and a new emotional clean slate, so to speak, which is a very positive thing. Let's see if there's anything else that wants to come through. Yeah. We got a card of heartbreak, heartache, leaving things behind that no longer serve us, cutting our losses, and finally the World card, which is a sense of completion, harmony, and balance. So as we move ahead here, recognize there's going to be some stragglers. There's some lessons to button up and sort of wrap up as we move into this state of new beginning. We have a new emotional clean slate we're going to step into. And based on these cards as we move forward, don't be surprised with the old things pop up, come back. Again, this is still an unconscious influence. It's going to creep in a little bit. And we have to see it for what it is and say, that is no longer serving me. It's time to move along, turn my vision and my movement and my energy and attention towards the things that do fulfill me and satisfy me in a deep spiritual sense, and move that direction. And the payoff is the World card, which is a sense of completion. So we're learning a big lesson right now. Big change has been afoot. Y'all have really hung in there. You're doing great. I believe in you. I'm with you. I support you from afar. We have definitely all been in this together. So continue on your path. Lean into love, lean into support, lean into the buoyant spirit of people, resources, content that is present for you, and that helps you along on your journey to overcoming the wounded aspect of ourselves and those things that are coming to the surface, things that we're letting go of, so we're no longer beholden to them moving into the future. Really cool reading. All right, folks, that's the Tarot Tuesday for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know how this resonates with you in the comments below. I would love to hear about your story and your journey, especially if you've been following for the last